Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, together with the Presidential Communications Office.
We bring you the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news coverage from the People's Television, IBC, Philippine News Agency, Philippine Information Agency, and Presidential Broadcast Service. I'm Princess Abiba Saripauda.
And I'm Joe Fernandez. We are from Radyo Pilipinas. Welcome to Balitang Pambansa. Tonight's headlines. The Department of Tourism, or DOT, reported strong growth in the tourism sector this year, attributing the progress to reforms and programs under the Marcos administration. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered a thorough investigation into the alleged Tanimbala incident at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, vowed to continue all efforts until the missing seafarers are found. The Department of Agriculture, or DA, announced that the maximum suggested retail price, or MSRP, on pork takes effect today. In 2019, the total number of tourist arrivals to the country hit a little over 8 million for the year. This year, tourist arrivals for January alone went over the million mark, which is 51% more than for the same period in banner year 2019. With such results, posted early this year, boosted by tax breaks for tourists and aggressive print and TV ad campaign, the record for 2019 is bound to fall by much, as our Clazel Padilla reports.
This is the first time Emilia and Elena visited the Philippines from Germany. They say this won't be their last, with more visits to follow.
We choose Philippines because the people are really kind. The nature is beautiful.
It would always been very good. Yeah, I was never afraid or anything in the Philippines.
According to Malacanang, from January to February 2025, tourist arrivals in the Philippines ballooned to more than 1 million. The country's tourism revenue surged past 65 billion pesos last January. This is higher than 43 billion pesos recorded in the same month of 2019 before the pandemic. Malacanang says this reflects the country's peace and order status and state of security.
Kung hindi po, hindi maganda ang peace and order sa Pilipinas, mas malamang po matakot ang mga turistang pumunta sa atin. Pero dahil nga tumataas po ang bilang ng mga turistang pumupunta sa atin, naungusan na nga po yung pre-COVID time natin. So, ibig sabihin po, hindi natatakot ang mga turistang pumunta sa ating bansa.
The palace attributes this to the Bureau of Immigration Services that are now faster and more accessible. In addition, last December, the VAT Reform for Non-Resident Tourists Act was signed into law. This allows foreign tourists to claim a 12% value-added tax refund on locally purchased products worth at least 3,000 pesos per transaction. Because of this, the palace is optimistic that more tourists will be encouraged to visit the Philippines. With this, tourism revenue is expected to grow as the new law is projected to increase tourist spending by 30%. This will not only benefit small businesses, but also create more jobs. From PTV Manila, Clazel Padilla, Balitang Pambansa.
A House Solon believes the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte can proceed even if she is included in the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court, or ICC, cover her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on illegal drugs. The topic remains widely discussed, though there is no confirmation yet on whether the ICC has issued a warrant or who it will be served to. PTV's Melanes Moras has the details.
House Prosecutor and Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua believes the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte can still proceed if she is among those served an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, or ICC, in connection with the war on illegal drugs of her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte. As of now, this issue is a hot topic, although there is no confirmation yet on whether the ICC has actually issued a warrant or to whom it will be served.
Sa akin po paniniwala, tuloy-tuloy naman ang impeachment trial unless of course hingin yung kanyang presensya. Insofar as si VP is concerned, ibang usapan po yun dahil siya po yung ating subject neto pong impeachment complaint.
Chua stated that although the Philippines is no longer a member of the ICC, the country still has a legal and diplomatic obligation to cooperate if the process is coursed through the International Criminal Police Organization or Interpol.
Tayo po ay parte pa rin ng Interpol. In fact, nung tayo po ay hinanap po natin si Alice Guo sa ibang bansa, ay humingi rin tayo ng tulong at suporta sa Interpol. Kaya hindi naman po maganda na tayo ay tataliwas dito dahil kung tayo po yung nangangailangan, sila naman ay ina-accommodate tayo kasi miyembro po tayo nito.
Meanwhile, as part of their preparations for the impeachment trial, House Secretary General Reginald Velasco has formally requested to Senate President Francis Escudero to kindly allocate a work and holding area in the Senate building for the House Prosecution Panel and their Secretariat for the upcoming trial. If permitted, the House leadership aims to conduct an ocular inspection there this Tuesday, March 11.
Para siyempre ma-familiarize na rin doon sa area. And at the same time, medyo meron na rin kaming kwarto no, na para at least kung saan yung mga staff namin ay maglalagi. Sa ngayon, inaantay pa po namin yung response from the Senate.
The next meeting of the House Prosecution Panel is also scheduled for March 11. As of now, the prosecutors have divided among themselves which articles of impeachment to focus on. From PTV, Melalas Moras, Balitang Pambansa.
Department of Transportation Chief Secretary Vince Dizon relieved 3 security personnel of the Office of the Transportation Security of Ninoy Aquino International Airport due to their alleged involvement in the Tanimbala incident. To recall, a 69-year-old woman, together with her family, set to travel to Vietnam on March 6, was accused of being in possession of a bullet while at the airport. However, DOTR's preliminary investigation showed the senior citizen was cleared and the X-ray scanner, but were chased by the security personnel and told to undergo physical inspection because of an alleged amulet in her luggage. Meanwhile, Senator Grace Poe said that the authorities should thoroughly investigate the said incident as this may cause trauma to passengers.
I am calling on our kababayans. Kapag nangyari sa inyo to, huwag kayong matatakot. Huwag kayong mahihiya. I-report nyo agad.
In celebration of National Women's Month, the senatoriables of the Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas assured that they will prioritize the women's sector once elected. Makati City Mayor Abby Binay expressed her appreciation and support to women legislators. Meanwhile, re-electionist Senator Lito Lapid, who personally visited Iriga City, personally gave flowers to women leaders of the Agta tribe. To reach more Filipinos, re-electionist Francis Tolentino conducted a motorcade in Quezon City, while House Deputy Majority Leader Erwin Tulfo campaigned in Caloocan City. According to House Deputy Speaker Camille Villar, she is promoting equal workforce for women and enhanced maternity benefits during her term at the lower house, which she plans to continue if elected to the Senate. For his part, former Senator Tito Soto said he will support pro-women bills.
Bilang isang ina, naiintindihan ko lahat ng roles na dapat gampanan ng isang babae. Siyempre, you have to take care of your children, your husband, you have to make sure na maayos ang pagtakbo ng tahanan mo, at yung iba naghahanap buhay pa, and others do pa something for the communities.
Founder of the women's rights movement was my mother, Dr. Herminia Castelo Soto. Brought up that way, so I always respect women. So kung ano man yung kailanganin for declaration of Women's Day, siguradong kami ay makakasok.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered a full investigation into the alleged Tanimbala incident at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, stressing that such illegal schemes must not be tolerated. The palace on Monday strongly condemned the incident, saying it should never happen again. The palace further stated that President will not allow anyone to fall victim to this modus operandi and that those responsible will be held accountable.
Yes, hindi po maganda kung ito po ay mauulit. So ito po talaga ay paiimbestigahan ng Pangulo at sa tulong na rin po ni DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon. Iimbestigahan po ito at kung ito may katotohanan, maaari po na ang nagsagawa nito ay maaari matanggal sa kanyang trabaho. So dapat po ang lahat ng, lalo na po, kung mga turista po, mga kapwa Pilipino natin, ang magiging biktima ng ganito, hindi po ito papayagan ng Pangulo. So may kailangan po managot kung mayroon dapat managot after thorough investigation.
On the other news, the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, vowed to continue its actions to immediately find the missing seafarers. This follows a Senate order for a new policy to install closed-circuit television or CCTV cameras on all ships, whether foreign or local, particularly in dangerous areas. In relation to this, Senate Committee on Migrant Workers Chairperson Senator Raffy Tulfo raised concerns over the increasing cases of missing Filipino seafarers. In a Senate hearing on March 6, Senator Tulfo immediately asked DMW Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak for a report on the missing seafarers who have still not been found. Some of these include Ralph Anthony Bubeles, who went missing on December 5, 2024, Jimbo Kadungong, who went missing on August 31, 2024, and Vincent San Diego, who went missing on June 16, 2023. Meanwhile, the remains of Jeric Bueno, who went missing on February 22, 2025, have been found, but his autopsy report is still pending. According to Secretary Kakdak, the causes of their disappearances and death are still under investigation.
Meanwhile, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos commended the exceptional talent of Filipino actors and filmmakers during the second Manila International Film Festival, or MIFF, in Hollywood, California. Highlighting their ability to craft compelling stories, the First Lady assured the administration of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. remains committed to supporting Filipino artists in the film industry and providing them with platforms to inspire future generations. She also expressed gratitude to the Philippine Consulate General in Los Angeles for warmly welcoming the Philippine delegation to the MIFF. In other news, candidates in the midterm polls in May, just as every poll held in the country, are mostly in violation of COMELEC campaign rules on posting ads in public sphere before official campaigning begins. But with 2.5 weeks left before the official campaign period kicks off, many candidates are voluntarily taking down their illegal placed ads or posts out of fear they could be disqualified by the COMELEC if they forget to act on or before March 28. Our Luisa Erispe reports on candidates who've already benefited from posting illegally and are in search of legitimate yet less visible locations.
More than 2 weeks before the start of the campaign period for local candidates in the 2025 midterm elections, local officials started removing their campaign materials along roads, bridges, and other public areas, which will be deemed as illegal starting March 28. And one of the LGUs that started their dismantling act are officials from Biñan, Laguna, who voluntarily removed their materials to abide by the COMELEC rules.
Magtatanggal kami sa, Mayor, dami-dami mong stream na aalisin ko na po yan. Papaalis ko po yan. Ililipat po namin yan sa mga private na mga bahay. Bawal pong lagyan ang mga puno. Kahit private ang puno, hindi namin pinalalagyan. Ang mga poste ng Meralco, lahat na ng poste ho, bawal ang mga public places.
Sumusunod tayo sa guidelines at hopefully kahit yung mga natitira yung maliliit na tarpaulin namin na talagang lahat po ay i-clear po natin ngayon and sumusunod tayo sa guidelines ng ating COMELEC.
According to the LGU, whether theirs or from their opponents, they opted to remove all the illegally posted campaign materials, even those from national candidates such as senatorial bets and party list nominees. The LGU explained this signifies their intent to obey COMELEC rules, and they also plan to recycle all collected materials for other purposes.
Aalis kukunin natin, shred natin yung mahahaba, ito yung pwede na pwedeng gawing mga basket, pero yung mga maliliit lang, mga 1 by 1, 1 by 2 feet, no? I-shred natin, then gagawin natin siyang component ng bricks natin.
According to the Commission on Elections, this will set an example to other candidates, as they have earlier pronounced that candidates should voluntarily remove their campaign materials if they are aware these are illegally posted and outside of the scope of common poster areas. But aside from posters, the COMELEC is also monitoring LGUs giving out assistance by way of government programs. Though such act is not yet considered as an election offense, the COMELEC reminds the public that just like posters, once the campaign period is officially underway, this may be grounds for disqualification.
Yung posters din po, wala pa rin pong prohibition, wala rin po kami pwedeng matanggal sapagkat hindi pa po sila kandidato. Sila po lahat ay aspirants pa lamang. Basta sinusunod yung guidelines, wala po tayong pagtatalunan. Pero sa kasalukuyan, wala pa pong prohibition mula sa COMELEC. Ang DSWT pa po ang may absolute control sa lahat ng ayuda na pinamimigay sa buong bansa.
From People's Television Network, Luisa Erispe, Balitang Pambansa.
Ito ay kwento ng isang benepisyaryo na sa halos 3 dekada ay inalagaan ang kanyang lupa sa pag-asang balang araw ay maaari na niyang tawaging tunay na kanya. At sa taong ito, sa wakas ay nakamit na rin niya.
Ako si Orlando Ramos sa 68 ang edad. Nagapuyo diri sa Barangay Santa Fe sa Bagong Sibugay Province. O isa ko sa mga ARB beneficiaries.
Ayon sa kanya, ang paghihintay ay may kasamang mga pagsubok habang inaalagaan niya ang kanyang sakahan simula noong 1995. Ito ang kanyang pangunahing pinagkukunan ng kabuhayan dahil hindi niya natapos ang kanyang edukasyon. Noong 4 ng May sa mga personal titulo sa isang okasyon na pinangunahan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa tulong ng Department of Agrarian Reform. Mahigit 8,000 titulo at 12 ektarya ang naibahagi sa mga magsasaka ng Zamboanga mula nang nanungkulan si Pangulong Marcos noong Hulyo 2022. Noong araw na ito, nakamit ni Orlando ang kanyang pinakaaasam na titulo para sa mahigit 2 ektarya ng lupang kanyang sinasakahan.
Salamaton ko sa atong Agrarian Secretary, walay lain kundi si Conrado Estrella, sa programa sa Agrarian Reform. Labaw na gyud sa atong presidente nga si President Bongbong Marcos. Ug naisa pa nga sa iyang ama, diin mismo dito siya nga ama nagsugod ang agrarian programa.
And we are back on Balitang Pambansa. Department of Agriculture released the basis for the pork maximum suggested retail price in Metro Manila starting today. Pork shoulder or cassim should cost at maximum 350 peso per kilo, while pork belly or gepo should be at 380 pesos per kilo effective today. Pork retailers at Mega Q Mart saw a 10 to 20 pesos pork price drop in Farmgate. The DA will conduct a periodic review a month after the pork MSRP implementation. Also, the department will work hand in hand with the DTI and PNP on market inspections to ensure compliance with the proper pork prices. Meanwhile, the group Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG proposes to include vegetables, particularly onions, on the MSRP as the Farmgate price trend on onions has been low over the past 2 weeks. As of now, SINAG is already coordinating with the DA on this matter.
Meanwhile, the Baguenya audiences enjoyed a cinematic experience at this year's Japanese Film Festival held in the city, where they watched 12 films across different genres. Rudolph Alama from Philippine Information Agency Davao tells us more.
The Baguenya audiences were treated to a cinematic experience at this year's Japanese Film Festival. The Japanese Film Festival lineup have 12 films in different genres like science fiction, anime, drama, and comedy. The theme for this year's JFF is Satori, or Awakening.
Actually, the process of making the lineup is such a fun, and we always wanted to bring some impactful films, and some are impactful, like a Godzilla -1, and everyone knows, right? But at the same time, we want to bring the films that really shows Japan from a different perspective, and also we wanted to choose the film which can tell Philippine and Japan relationship.
One of the guests at the film festival in Davao City was Japanese actor and director Yuki Takashi. the filmmaker behind the Japanese film Dito, which was shot in Manila and Sarangani, and is included in the Japanese Film Festival lineup. The film is about an aging Japanese boxer living in the Philippines who searches for his break in professional boxing.
途中からそのパッキャオのエイジーズジャストナンバーっていうのが裏のテーマにあったので、彼の地元であるミンダナオで上映できることが嬉しかったです。
So the age is just number is one of the things that the Pacquiao said, and he's very happy to show this film here in Mindanao.
Rudolph Alama of PIA Davao Region for Balitang Pambansa.
More news from the south. A woman from Tacloban City and her family, whose lives were profoundly impacted by a life-changing encounter with Pope Francis during the Pontiff's visit in 2015, joined the global prayers for the Holy Father. Alet Reyes from the Philippine Information Agency Leyte has the details.
As Catholics around the world offer prayers of healing for Pope Francis, a woman in Tacloban City and her family, whose lives were touched after a once-in-a-lifetime encounter with the Holy Father during his visit in 2015, joins the world in earnest prayer for the Pope's full recovery. Ginetta Aguilar, a victim of Super Typhoon Yolanda and now a resident in a village named after the Pope, keeps an image of the Pope over their tiny home's altar, together with the rosary beads that Pope Francis gave her and her family, saying she has then offered prayers after hearing of the Pope's hospitalization in February.
Pri ko hiya nga, kuha nagmaupay hiya. Sabi ko nga, malabot pati hiya buhay ka, diba may kuha na hiya, may edad na hiya. Ang latang pimpi, pri ko kada before ako maisip.
Aguilar further shared that it was her family and 4 of her siblings with their children who were blessed by the Pope when he got out of the way and approached them lining up the streets under a heavy downpour during the 2015 papal visit. She was also one of those in the faithful community who was happy to receive the latest news that the Pope is recovering. The purpose of the 2015 papal visit by Pope Francis was to provide comfort to the victims and survivors of Super Typhoon Yolanda. The Pontiff's visit also brought the construction of relief infrastructure, such as housing villages for the typhoon victims and homes for orphans and the elderly. From the Philippine Information Agency Leyte, Alet Reyes, Balitang Pambansa.
The Visayas leg of a fact-checking and online verification training among state-run media outlets recently concluded in Tagbilaran City, Bohol. Alex Lumake from the Philippine Information Agency Capiz has more.
The series of training through the collaboration of the Presidential Communications Office and Verifiles, an independent non-profit media organization, focused on equipping fact-checkers with the necessary skills to navigate complex information issues, fostering resilience against misinformation in the digital age.
Para sa amin, we wanted to tap the network of the PCO, diba? Kasi laki-laki ang network ng PCO. Ang sabi namin, mas marami tayong nagtutulungan sa paglaban sa sinungalingan. Mas mataas yung chance na matatalo natin itong all these lies and falsehoods that are going around. Hindi nakakasama kasi yan sa mga araw-araw natin na buhay eh. Tsaka number 1 talaga sa demokrasya natin, diba?
Tordesillas noted that Verifiles, a signatory to the International Fact-Checking Network, did not receive any monetary compensation for conducting the training sessions. The 2-day activity was attended by the designated fact-check officers from the Philippine Information Agency, People's Television Network Incorporated, Presidential Broadcast Service, Intercontinental Broadcasting Corporation, and Philippine News Agency. Meanwhile, PCO Senior Undersecretary for Digital Media Service, Emerald Ridao, conveyed her appreciation and gratitude to Verifiles for sharing its best practices among state media practitioners. The partnership marks a significant step in strengthening a transparent and independent fact-checking mechanism within state media. It also aligns with the government's ongoing Maging Mapanuri campaign to promote media literacy and combat information disorder. From the Philippine Information Agency Capiz, Alex Lumake for Balitang Pambansa.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration aims to intensify efforts against agricultural smuggling. Meanwhile, the Philippines is set to return the unspent COVID-19 loan funds to the World Bank. These and more in tonight's Business Wrap from the Philippine News Agency.
Moving to business news, the Marcos administration is stepping up its action to combat illegal activities in the agricultural sector. This as the Anti-Agricultural Economic Sabotage Council, or AEES, held its inaugural meeting in Malacanang on March 5, 2025. The AEES meeting, chaired by Special Assistant to the President Frederick Go, formalized the creation of teams that will implement the provisions of the Republic Act 12022. The new law enforces rigid fines and longer prison sentences for those involved in agricultural smuggling, hoarding, profiteering, and cartel activities. Meanwhile, the Philippines plans to return the unspent portion of its COVID-19 response to the World Bank. The Washington-based multilateral lender reported 95% of the loan proceeds worth $585 million had been spent during the Philippines COVID-19 Emergency Response Project, which ended last December 29, 2024. About $26 million will be returned by the Philippine government to the World Bank, including the $16.31 million from the first loan, plus $9.7 million from the second tranche. The Philippines borrowed a total of $900 million from the World Bank to stem the effects of the pandemic that weakened the health system and resulted to the country's worst post-war recession. In other news, motorists are expected to enjoy a big-time rollback of fuel prices this week. On March 11, 2025, Shell Pilipinas announced gasoline prices are set to drop at 1 peso and 70 centavos per liter. For kerosene, the rollback is 1 peso and 80 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, diesel prices will decrease to 90 centavos per liter. Clean Fuel and PTT Philippines will implement the same price rollbacks except for kerosene. The price reduction will be implemented starting at 6 a.m. on Tuesday, except for Clean Fuel, which will adjust prices at 8:01 a.m. the same day. That's the latest business news from the Philippine News Agency. This is Wilnard Barcelona for Balitang Pambansa.
And that wraps up our rundown of the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news and information from all across the nation. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Joe Fernandez.
This is your trusted news source, always ready to inform and serve the Filipino people. Catch Balitang Pambansa again tomorrow at 7 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. for more updates and developments. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Princess Abiba Saripauda, and this is
Balitang Pambansa.